What's going on, Flawless family? Welcome back to the channel. Will here, coming to you guys with another video today, and was asked a very interesting question. And again, in our transparency, guys, we're going to tell you from our perspective on certain things. Now, this is going to be interesting because this is not something we've experienced. Therefore, I guess we're going to roll right into it and just tell you how we feel on it, our viewpoints, talking points on it, and hopefully enlighten some people that are choosing to be enlightened by some of the content that we're putting out. And for others that kind of already know this information, just thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys for everything that you do for us, all the support thus far. And we're going to keep rocking and rolling along. But today we're going to be talking about something that some breeders have experienced already. Maybe you're middle level, maybe you're beginning. I doubt most big breeders have dealt with this specific issues. Maybe they're not as they don't have a season that's fertile enough. But we're going to talk a little bit about low fertility seasons, right? We literally was inboxed over on IG about how do we deal with low fertility seasons. Now, in order for us to kind of really elaborate on that, we got to talk to you guys about our process and our experience. Going into year 4 now, I hope we don't have a low fertility season. But year 1, we had 43 clutches. Year 2, we had 33 clutches. And last year, we had 48 clutches. So we haven't had too much of an issue with fertility. Now, when you're breeding in a very boutique style like we do, that's our approach, every single pairing that you do matters. Every lock counts because you're hoping to stretch your male and not stress him throughout that season, so that you can kind of fatten him up and he can chill for the rest of the season. So you want to really, in a boutique style, use your males at a very as minimal as possible. Now, there's certain things that come into play when you're doing that, because you want to make sure that there's a lot of stuff in your control. But on the opposite end of things, there's so much stuff that's outside of your control that you're aware of from the very, very start, that is almost comical in a way, because we all still choose to pursue this goal to be breeders. So you kick off your season, and right out the gate, you do what we always say, right? Make a plan, execute, follow through. So you're planning out all your pairings, what you're going to pair to what project you're trying to further. If you have 10 pairings, most likely they're probably not all going to be in the same project. Maybe you're doing a little bit here, a little bit there. No matter what your approach is, you're going to always end up asking yourself the very same questions. Are you getting any locks with your males and your females? If you are, cool. If you aren't, why are you not getting any locks? Does that mean that your female isn't ready? Does that mean that your male isn't ready? Does that mean that they're both ready, but they're just not compatible with each other? You want to also ask yourself at the end of the day, well, you're getting locks. When are you going to get your eggs? Are you understanding the process of, ovulation and everything else that comes into play? Once you get your eggs, are your eggs fertile? They're fertile, cool, but do they now make it full term throughout the entire incubation period? There's so many different variables that come to play for you to have a successful season breeding. So with that being said, the truth is there's no foolproof way to breed ball pythons. Zero. There is no foolproof way. But there are some practices and things that you can do to kind of stack odds in your favor. Again, we're talking not from going through this experience of low fertility, but talking from a perspective of avoiding having this problem of low fertility. Now, you guys have heard it from us. I got these rough hands from lifting weights and all this stuff over the past couple decades at this point, because I'm getting to be an old man. So my touch to the feeling and sensory, they're shot, man. They're literally gone. So whether you're someone that can check for follicle growth manually, or you're someone like us that's a big advocate for the ultrasound machine, being new and trying to utilize that tool to the best of its ability to be a benefit for us, the key is having a consistent schedule. So that's going to be one of the number one things when you want to check for follicle growth on some of your females, is have a consistent schedule, whether you're checking follicle growth or whether you're checking, manually for follicle growth or via ultrasound machine. You want to make sure that you're not just strictly just guessing. You want to make sure you can track it. Now, the caveat to that is if you don't have a very large collection, or you're not really stretching your male thin at all, maybe you're doing 1-to-1 pairing or maybe 1-to-2 pairings, then if your male is doing that low of a count with your pairings, you might not have to kind of keep such close track of the scheduling there. Maybe you're going to do 1 pairing, 1 lock a month, or attempt 1 lock a month per female. It's very manageable with that, with those odds and those numbers when you're doing those pairings. When you start to increase those numbers, maybe you have 1 male and 6 females. Maybe you have 1 male and 4 females. I think that the 4 female is a good cutoff there of needing to really exercise some type of consistency with your schedule. What we have found in our experience is when you're working with 4 females to 1 male in a specific project, that's not stretching them thin, but at the same time, you have now a lot of variables again that can work against you. If you're trying to go in a number order, 1, 2, 3, 4 females, and you're trying to cycle that male through, what happens when your male goes in the shed and you're not going to pair that male for that week or whatever it may be? Now, what happens also if the female, that you're utilizing in those pairings, she behaves in the same manner where she doesn't want to lock or entertain a male while she's in shed. So again, trying to keep track of all those things when you're hitting around that 4 females to 1 male, you're going to want to monitor that, because that male may be ready for that female and you open the tub and she's in shed. Now you have to kind of pivot and change to a different female. But if you know roughly where your follicle growth on your females are, you'll know exactly a rough estimate on when they need to be paired. So another thing we're going to talk about, because you want to stay ahead of the process so that nothing really catches you off guard, right? You're going to want to watch and monitor the weight management of your females. That will tell you a lot, especially in the amateur ranks where we are, at this moment. Your females, their weight is going to fluctuate, and that can definitely be a signal that you have follicle development. These females tend to gain weight, obviously, as their follicles start to grow and become eggs inside of their body. Your males, kind of a little off topic, but it's along with breeding. You're going to want to monitor their weight as well. You want to make sure that your males are eating and breeding. As they breed, they're going to lose some weight. So a lot of those males that's borderline breeding weight, you really want to pay close attention to them, because you can overbreed your males, which is the whole point of why we have an ultrasound. And if you're overbreeding that male, they can hit the point of no return and they can die. You can lose that male. So bottom line is, you don't want to burn out your males by trying to push them too far. And your females, you want to make sure that they're gaining grams throughout the season, which gives you a positive key that they are gaining some size with their follicles. A good line of measure is basically healthy breeders will equal better odds. And now here's something that a lot of new breeders tend to overlook. A lot of things we do, we don't gain this experience, this hands-on experience and learn unless we're actually doing it. And once you've had a couple clutches under your belt, once you've produced, maybe a season or 2, you'll learn, especially with certain females, their eating behavior changes during the season where the follicles are building. You know, is your female always acting like she wants food every time you check on her, every time you open her tub for spot cleaning? She's always ready to really eat. This can be a seasonal change, and this could be her body trying to support what's developing inside. So pay attention to those subtle changes because they actually matter. Now, let's keep it real. Sometimes a female just isn't fertile. Now, it's rare, but it happens. That's why monitoring and managing the fertility status of your females and keeping good records this entire time is so important in this process. You know, it's like a mechanic with a problem or any problem in life, period. You never really want to, what we used to call back in the day, kicking the can down the road, where you're just kind of passing along a problem to the next person and to the next person. A female could be 100% healthy in appearance, but she's just not fertile. And you're not going to know that until you've bred her, until, you know, maybe time and time again, different males, until you've done your due diligence to really label her as, you know, infertile. That being said, even though it's few and far between, you're going to possibly run into that situation somewhere along the road. You'll also find that maybe you buy a female as a breeder, and maybe she's at breeding weight. Maybe she's been at breeding weight for years, but she's never laid any clutches. Who knows? Maybe that breeder that owned that female prior to you actually knew she was infertile, but just kind of reluctantly held back that information when they sold that female to you. These are all things that can happen in your journey of breeding. That's why, hopefully, in your journey of being transparent, the sooner you identify that a female has some issues or is infertile, maybe you need to decide to keep her as a pet or sell her as a pet quality. Don't kick the can down the road and pass that problem on to the next keeper or breeder. That's definitely unethical as a breeder, especially if you have the knowledge of all this information. Pretty much address it, you know, and make the proper decisions. At the end of the day, success in breeding comes down to three things. In my opinion, it's going to be consistency, observation, and record keeping. Stay organized, people. Stay proactive and stay patient. Patience is very, very hard, especially when you're breeding ball pythons. You guys know it. We feel the same exact way. We deal with the battle of patience all the time and trying to consistently move forward. But sometimes you lose those battles, sometimes you win, but you at least want to learn from the process. So again, guys, I'm going to state it. We have not faced this issue of a low fertility season as of yet. I hope we don't face that, knock on wood. But these are the things that, on the front side of the possibility of having an obstacle or a problem, these are things that you need to address and look at and evaluate, reevaluate as you continue down this breeder journey. Therefore, hopefully you can avoid this issue altogether. Maybe we can avoid this issue altogether, but hopefully we're passing along useful information for you to utilize in this current day and age. If you're currently breeding or thinking about becoming a breeder and you're checking out this video, hit that subscribe button, guys. Hit that like button. Actually, after you hit the like button, guys, there's going to be a hype button to hit. Hype us up. You get 3 free hypes every single week. It's completely free. Hype this video up so we can reach more people, bring more people into the hobby, offer more assistance, inspiration, maybe motivation. But for now, it's Will, Flawless Exotic Creations, and we out.